Stop scrolling. You were never supposed to hear this story. Most war stories are about bullets and bravery. This one is about inflatable tanks, sound effects, and a group of artists who were asked to do something insane. Pretend to be 30,000 soldiers, get so close to the enemy that you could smell their coffee, and pray they didn't figure out your tank was made of rubber. They were called the Ghost Army, and for 50 years, the US government denied they ever existed. Here's something that sounds made up, but isn't. In 1944, the Army walked into art schools in New York and Philadelphia. They looked at students sketching fruit bowls and said, "We need you in Europe, not to fight, to lie." They recruited painters, illustrators, even set designers from Broadway. They grabbed Bill Blass, who later became a famous fashion designer, and Ellsworth Kelly. These kids became the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Their job? Build an army that doesn't exist. Make the Germans waste their ammo shooting at balloons. The men had a nickname for themselves, the Rubber Army, and their weapons were stranger than anything on the battlefield. The first weapon was air. The Ghost Army had inflatable M4 Sherman tanks. Deflated, they looked like sad pool toys crumpled on the ground, but pump them full of air and they rose into full-scale replicas. A real Sherman weighs 30 tons. These weighed 90 pounds. There is actual footage of a soldier picking up a tank by the turret and spinning it around like a cardboard box. But here is where the artists earned their pay. Tanks don't just appear, they leave a mess. So these artists used bulldozers to carve fake tracks in the mud. They scattered empty oil cans. They even hung laundry on clotheslines between the fake tanks. One veteran, Arthur Shilstone, later said in an interview, "We were told if we did our job right, the Germans wouldn't shoot at the real guys. They'd shoot at us, and we had nothing to shoot back with." That's the part people forget. They were sitting ducks in a rubber boat. Visuals fool the eyes, but what about the ears? So the Ghost Army built the loudest lie of the war. Engineers went to Fort Knox and recorded everything. The specific growl of a tank engine starting up, the squeak of a tank tread on pavement, the shouting of sergeants. They loaded these sounds onto massive 500-pound speakers mounted on the back of trucks. These speakers could blast sound 15 miles away. Imagine being a German scout in a dark, foggy forest. Suddenly, the night explodes with noise. Engines revving, metal clanking, armor moving. You can't see anything, but your ears tell you an entire division is attacking your flank. So you radio headquarters, the Germans move their artillery to hit the noise, and what's actually there? Two guys in a truck changing a record. They were literally the DJs of war, remixing battle sounds to save lives. But my absolute favorite trick? It didn't involve technology. It involved acting. Small teams would put on the shoulder patches of a real unit, say the 75th Division. They would drive a truck into a French village, walk into a cafe, order an omelet, and start talking loudly. "The general's moving us north tomorrow. Yeah, the whole 75th is heading to Brest." They knew German spies were in that cafe. They knew the bartender might be a collaborator. They were counting on it. They were feeding lies directly into the enemy's ear over a glass of wine. It sounds fun, but think about the risk. If one German soldier realized these guys were faking it, they had no heavy weapons. They would have been massacred. All of this practice led to one night, March 1945. The Allies needed to cross the Rhine River, the final barrier into Germany. If the Germans knew where the real crossing was, it would be a slaughter. So the Ghost Army went to work 10 miles north. They inflated 600 dummy tanks and guns. They played the sounds of bridge building all night long. They lit fires to mimic a massive camp. The Germans fell for it completely. They moved their reserves north to fight the Ghosts. Meanwhile, the real Ninth Army crossed the river in the south with almost zero resistance. One report estimated that this single deception saved 10,000 to 30,000 American lives. Think about that. 30,000 men went home to their families because a bunch of art students blew up some balloons. But here is the sad part. When the war ended, there were no parades for the Ghost Army. The Pentagon classified the mission. They thought they might need to use the tricks again against the Russians. So these men went home and lied to their wives. What did you do in the war, honey? Oh, I blew up balloons. It sounded like a joke. Nobody believed them. They kept that secret for 50 years. Most of them died before the world ever knew they were heroes. It wasn't until 1996 that the files were declassified, and it wasn't until 2022, just a few years ago, that they finally received the Congressional Gold Medal. So the next time someone tells you art is useless, or that creativity can't win a fight, tell them about the Ghost Army, the unit that proved you don't always need a bigger gun. Sometimes you just need a better lie. If you want more hidden stories from history, the stuff they leave out of the textbooks, hit that subscribe button. I'm digging up the files on Project Habakkuk next, the time the British tried to build an aircraft carrier out of ice. You don't want to miss that. I'll see you in the next one.